After reaffirming his loyalty to the emperor, he casually mentions that he will finally get a wife. The little dragon thinks they are both crazy. Jill, for her part, admits that she is still very young and would prefer the marriage to be in name only, for the time being. The emperor quickly scoops her up in his arms, thanks her, and tells her that he doesn't mind if the marriage is in name only. He also promises to treasure her like an amethyst. He quickly apologizes, explaining that he acted impulsively. Even though he doesn't fully understand what love is yet, he is determined to prove his seriousness. He then gently sets Jill down and kisses her hand before asking Rave to bless her. At that moment, an engagement ring magically appears on Jill's hand, the dragon consort's ring. This was proof of her status as the emperor's wife, and more importantly, that she had been blessed by the dragon god. Rave adds that, to everyone else, she will be seen as his fiancé, but as long as she wears that ring, she is already his wife. Now, he swears to protect her from everything. Suddenly, the ship is attacked. Jill immediately suggests preparing a counterattack, but when she looks at the emperor, she notices that he looks visibly exhausted. She asks the little dragon to take her to the port, though she feels conflicted. She had made an oath to protect the emperor and make him happy. At that moment, Jill uses her magic to push the ship into the port. With her fists, she destroys the cannonballs that fly towards them. She points out that His Majesty had prioritized her safety over his, which was reason enough for her to help him. The ship lands safely in the port. Jill quickly declares that the emperor is on board, that they were attacked, but thankfully, they managed to escape. She immediately orders the crew to take him to a doctor. After all this, the little dragon thanks Jill, but asks her to lower her voice, as it seems like she is the only one who can see him, making everyone think she is talking to herself. A short time later, Jill approaches the town sign and realizes that they are in Baleberg. The dragon asks her if she knows the place. Jill recognizes the name, remembering the tragic events that happened in Baleberg, but avoids talking about them, reminding herself that those events will happen in the future. Just then, a girl arrives asking for Lord Hadis. She mentions having heard that he brought a young girl from Kratos. This was Sphere, Jill's romantic rival. Sphere was the daughter of Marquis Bale, lord of these lands, and a candidate to be Hadis's fiancé. Sphere quickly confronts Jill, warning her that she will not allow her to steal Hadis, calling her a home-wrecking little kitty. Later at the castle, Jill reflects on the tragedy of Baleberg, which occurred during the banquet celebrating Emperor Hadis's return to Kratos. The emperor had refused to marry Sphere, the daughter of Marquis Bale, and the distraught girl took the lives of the other candidates, set fire to the castle, and took her own life. Upon reflection, Jill believes that such a girl could not possibly commit such a horrible act. With the Emperor present here and his return to Kratos soon, she feels that the event is unlikely to happen. But if it were to happen, it would spark a civil war with Kratos. Jill also fears losing her subordinates and family again, remembering Zeke and Camilla. At that moment, the little dragon reappears and asks if Jill is all right, as being stuck in one place for so long would depress anyone. Jill assures him that she has been treated well and immediately asks about the Emperor's health. The dragon tells her that he woke up a while ago, and the first thing he did was ask about her. He also mentions that the Emperor met Sphere, which kept him up all night out of worry. Just then, a soft knock is heard at the door. It is His Majesty, dressed in an unusual outfit and holding croissants he had baked for Jill. He explains that in order to win his wife's heart, he must start with her stomach, determined to make her fall in love with him. Jill calls him a demon with a handkerchief. The Emperor then adds that in the mornings, he will make her eggs Benedict, a dish unheard of in Kratos, and once she tastes it, there will be no turning back, assuring her that she will savor everything that comes out of it. Alarmed, Jill tells him not to say it in such an indecent tone. Rave quickly offers her a croissant. When Jill tries it, she is surprised at how delicious it is. This delights the Emperor, who declares that their marriage is now bound by croissants. Jill, however, is not amused and punches him in response. The Emperor, rubbing his head, wonders what else could be missing besides some screws. A little calmer now, the Emperor mentions that he came to check on her. However, things seem to have become more complicated. Normally, she would have been released by now, as he had ordered her to be taken to the capital. This implies that Marquis Bale has rebelled and was likely behind the attack on the ship. Jill then asks Rave if he really believes in the curse. Rave tries to dodge the question, but eventually admits the truth. Jill asks if he knows that he is a contender for the throne with little chance of securing it. Because his mother was a concubine, only he or his elder brother could stay in the capital, but they decided to send him to the border, which essentially meant abandoning him. Furthermore, His mother was horrified by his ability to see the dragon, going so far as to call him a monster. This was because for generations, no emperor had been able to see the dragon god. When Reijou turned 11, strange things started to happen. The crown prince, whom he had never met, died of an illness. They chose a successor immediately, but he too drowned in a bath. The next one hanged himself, claiming that he heard a woman's voice every night. The next one suffocated while washing his face in the morning. They died, one after the other, right on his birthday, as if something wanted him to become emperor. And although he insisted on his innocence, the only person who believed him was his older brother, Prince Vissel. However, Vissel was a low-ranking prince, so he didn't have enough power to do anything. After 5 years of unexplained deaths, it could no longer be called a coincidence. Reijou's father summoned him and named him Crown Prince. Shortly after, his father also disappeared from the castle. On the day of his coronation, his mother took her own life, and that was when the cursed emperor was born. After hearing this, Jill can't believe what she just heard. However, Reijou tells her not to be so surprised, as these are things of the past. Her brother had managed to convince the nobles and now everything was fine. But Jill knows that Prince Vissel will be the one to leak information to Kratos, and as a result, Reijou will end up executing her brother and the other princes. Jill asks him if he doesn't think it's unfair what his family and this country did to him. Reijou replies that he is the reincarnation of the dragon god Reijou, and that he was born to be an emperor. The other people are subjects that he must protect, including his family, and refusing is like surrendering to his destiny. He also tells Jill that she shouldn't worry about the curse. As long as he has a wife blessed by the dragon, the curse will be kept under control. However, in a low voice, he mentions that they should be fine for at least 3 more years. Jill knows that he is still hiding something, but for now, she decides to let it go. She tells him that it's a fact that he has many enemies around him, so he wonders how he plans to get rid of them. Reijou replies that if Beale tries anything against him, he'll crush him mercilessly, though he has no intention of fighting him for no reason. Jill then thinks it's best to gather information first, so she volunteers to leave the castle and do just that. At first, Reijou doesn't want her to leave, thinking it's too dangerous. However, Jill replies, what kind of wife wouldn't support her husband during such a crisis? Upon hearing this, Reijou is completely enthralled by Jill's words, and is now even more eager to bake cakes for her. Jill feels like he's a clumsy little brother that she can't take her eyes off of. After all this, Reijou faints from a fever. The next day, Jill gets to work. After some time searching for information, she stops by the church, where she finds Sphere talking to the priest. Sphere seems to be in pain because apparently Emperor Hadis said that his wife must be 14 and she is 16, so she doesn't know what else to do. Jill continues her investigation, and at that moment, she notices a couple of soldiers. She had heard that soldiers used to be nobles, but these ones seemed a bit vulgar to her. These soldiers break into the church to take Sphere away against her will. Jill, who had been listening the whole time, initially didn't want to intervene, but in the end, she decides to confront them. Soon, a strange man arrives where Reijou is. He tells her that a group of unknown people have taken over the port, and that supposedly the girl he brought from Kratos is leading them, and they have also kidnapped the young Sphere. It turns out that this man is Beale, the girl's father, and he quickly demands that Reijou send his men to deal with the situation, as his daughter's life is no game. Reijou asks him what he plans to do with his wife. However, Beale replies that she is not his wife, but merely a spy. He also mentioned that Jill easily took the port, which was under the protection of the Northern Squad, and demands that once the problem is resolved, that squad withdraw from the city. Reijou warns him of one thing. If his wife is proven innocent, Beale will have to face all the consequences. But Beale replies that Reijou should care more about his own well-being, as if the daughter of a marquis like him were to die by mistake, Reijou would pay dearly for it. At the port, it seems that they are still looking for Jill, unaware that she has already been captured. Sphere quickly asks if they know who she is. The soldiers reply that they do. However, they have come from Kratos, supposedly under Jill's orders, as she had manipulated Reijou. However, there was not much that Sphere could do, and now she finds herself locked up with that little boy, thinking that it is all her fault. Apparently, it was all her father's idea, as he was the one who suggested that she go talk to the priest about Hadis. Sphere tells us a little bit about her story. When she was younger, after her mother passed away, her father remarried almost immediately, and as a result, she was sent to another mansion where there was no place for her. She used to sneak away to a place where dragons rested, and even though they spoke to her when she was little, she couldn't understand what they were saying. That's how she ended up completely isolated. However, one day, the newly crowned emperor sent her a letter saying that he wanted to see her, and at their first meeting, he asked her if she could see something over his shoulder. She replied that she couldn't, and for that, her father scolded her, telling her that she had given the wrong answer. Then, he demanded that she return everything he had invested in raising her. But Lord Hadis intervened and started having tea with her once a month without fail. But one day, before Hadis left for Kratos, she confessed her feelings to him, and the Emperor, to her face, rejected her, saying that she was not 14 years old. Jill, now focused, plans to help the girl. However, she knows that she will be blamed for the kidnapping, and her only option is to expose the Marquis' conspiracy to the public. Just then, two people are thrown into the same place. They are Camilla and Zeke, whom Jill immediately recognizes. She begins to cry on the spot, surprising both of them. Camilla, for her part, blames Zeke for scaring her. Jill, for her part, begins to remember everyone, telling herself that in 6 years, she will lose many people. However, she quickly realizes that she has not lost anyone yet, and for the first time since she returned to the past, she feels like things are just beginning. This time, she will not lose anyone.